Today we're going to look at some of the best varieties of flowers for drying, and we're also going to look at some of their similarities so that when we go to choose varieties of flowers to dry, we'll kind of have an idea of what might dry well and what might not dry well. And at the end of this video, there will be a freebie for you guys, so stick around so you can see what that is. Hey there, if you're new, my name is Haley, and on this channel we do all kinds of DIYs and everything to do with flowers and other natural materials. So if that interests you, I would love to have you subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you will not miss any more videos that I post. Alright, so we're going to look at some dried flowers today, and it's really important to kind of be able to tell the characteristics of what will make a good dried flower. And for this video, I'm going to be talking about flowers that I would hang upside down to dry. There are other methods to drying flowers, and I will link a video here of one of those other ways. And for that method, there are other varieties that will work great for that. But for specifically hang drying flowers, you're kind of going to want to look for a specific quality in a flower, and that will give you the best results. So the first one I have here is going to be Statice, and Statice can be found pretty readily at like a grocery store or a florist shop. You can see it has like a cluster of little blooms right here, and then it has a square stem, so it's a little bit different with that. Statice comes in a lot of different colors. You can see right here I have some dark purple, some lighter pinkish purple, some yellow back here, and then like this white cream color, and sometimes you can get more of like an apricot-y color also. So there's lots of different colors of Statice, and this one is great, and you can already hear it crinkling. This is not much different than what it looks like when it's growing on the plant. So the only real difference that you'll notice is that the stems have lightened up a little bit and they're not green anymore. But other than that, this plant looks almost exactly like it did when I was growing it. And the next one I have are these Cresspedia, or sometimes they're called drumstick flower or sunball flowers. These, same thing, they look almost exactly the same as they did when they were on the plant. You can see they kind of have like this little textured, almost spotted texture to them. These only come in yellow, but they are super fun and they last so long, and people love these so much. They add so much interest and character into any arrangement or project you're going to make. Alright, this next one is called Gumfrina or Globe Amaranth, and I think I picked this one when it was a little bit too early, so they're a little bit floppy. But these also come in different colors. There is red, white, light pink, there's like an orangish one, so tons of different colors for this too. And same with the Statice, they're really crispy. You can kind of hear that. They're just very dry, and it doesn't look much different than when it was on the plant. Same as the Statice again, it's mostly just these stems that you can tell they're lighter than they were when they were growing. When they were growing, they were dark green, and now they're just a little bit lighter. But other than that, it looks almost exactly the same. Okay, this next one is Yarrow. Yarrow also comes in multiple colors, and it's a very clustery flower, so they have these big heads on them with a bunch of little flowers, as you can see here. They also come in lots of colors. There's pink, yellow, red, peach, purple, white, and possibly others also. But you can see they kind of just add like a really good filler. Then my favorite of all is straw flower. If you are not new to my channel, I'm sure you already know this. But straw flower is so pretty. It holds its color so well. And that is how it sounds when it's on the plant. Just like that. It also comes in multiple colors. You can see I have some orange and white and this light pinkish color. There's also a darker red color and a mixture of those kinds of colors like in between and things like that. So you'll find some that are white with pink on them. Really, really pretty. Now we're going to get into some of the like grassy, bushy branch type things. So My favorite greenery for drying is probably eucalyptus, and this is a seeded eucalyptus, but it is just so pretty, and the color does not change very much at all. It still has that dusty look to it, and it just is really, I just really like eucalyptus, fresh or dry. It's one of my favorites. And eucalyptus you can find at the grocery store as well, or at a flower farm that's local to you. So that's another great thing about eucalyptus. And here's another filler. This one is called Persian Cress. And this one I actually left out in the field until they were bleached by the sun. So they had completely dried when they were on the plant, and they all looked like this. I had quite a bit of it, and I still have quite a bit of it, but it's a really good one to just add some interest. And the branches are each really big, so you can get a lot, especially if you're going to cut it down. You'll end up with a ton of pieces from just one branch, so I really like that about it. I also like the bleach color, and I haven't really experimented with cutting it earlier than that. Normally when it's growing, it is green and white, so it'll have these little green, almost like it'll have these little green pods on it, just like this one, but they're green. And before that, it actually has little white flowers on it. So it's a really pretty plant, fresh or dried, and it's a great one for doing dried projects with. So the next thing I have is a bunch of different grasses. Here's some barley. Barley is super good for adding interest and texture, and it pretty much just, it's green for a little while, and then when it's ready to harvest, it'll turn like this bleachy color. And then I have two other grasses here that I just forage. So there's this one that has these little, almost triangular little pods on it. This was just growing next to a creek, and it's really fun, and it almost looks like fireworks. So I really like that one. And then another grass that I have is called velvet grass. This was in a pasture, and it's very soft and fluffy. And I don't know if you guys can tell the color that well, but it's kind of purpley at the end. So it's a little bit of an ombre, it gets lighter and then darker. Super fun for adding to dried arrangements. So those are my top dried flowers that I like to dry and that I think dry very well. And we're gonna look at some of the similarities here, because I think it's important to kind of be able to tell if a flower is going to be good for drying. And like I said before, there are other methods for drying, so if you're using a different method, then there's going to be a lot more options for what you can dry. So if you look at the statice and the straw flower and the amaranth, you can tell they're all like this crispy, crunchy, papery kind of feel. And I'm telling you, this is exactly how they are when they're growing in the field. So you can totally tell that these are going to be great for drying. And they just hold their color so well. Like, these haven't changed color, they haven't changed their form at all. Like regular petals, if you go to dry them, they'll usually just kind of flop down into like a stringy, they'll just hang. If they were flat, they'll change to like this, almost closed, and just, they don't look at all the same. But all of these hold their shape completely. They look exactly the same besides the stem as when they were on the plant. So that is one great way to tell if you have something that's really papery like this and dry and crispy and just this sort of texture that's already, they're already kind of dry to begin with, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that will make a great dried flower. And that's also great for holding the color. So you can, I was so surprised the first time I dried all these. They don't even change how they look. It's just the stem that gets a little bit lighter, but the actual flower stays the same. So those are great, great options for drying. And then it's the same thing with like pods or these cressbedia. Pods like poppy pods or sea holly, they're going to keep their form also and their color. So So another really great thing to look for is types of pods or just different kind of like hard like this. So these are my favorite flowers for drying, and you can grow these on your porch. You could probably grow them inside. I haven't tried that before, but all of these I grew out in the garden, and some of them can be a little tricky to start. The straw flower, I think we planted it before it was a little bit, we planted it when it was still a little bit too cold. So as long as you're going according to the packaging instructions and the zone that you're in, you should have pretty good success. And if not, just try changing up what you're doing, and sometimes you just have to kind of baby the plants a little bit more, as silly as that sounds. But overall, these would be great to grow, and when you're making DIYs with your own flowers that you grew, it's way more rewarding. But if you don't want to grow them, that's fine too. I would suggest looking first for a local flower farm. I know there's a local flower farm here that sells dry flowers all year round, and they have these other varieties that you might not be able to find, like the straw flower. You probably won't find these at the grocery store. I guess maybe that depends on where you are. I've never seen these at the grocery store. I have seen status at the grocery store, but you still might not have this variety of color like you can grow or find locally. So I would check out a local flower farm if there's one near to you, and that will just broaden your options for what you can, for the materials that you can find. Or maybe you just want to try growing one thing at first just to see how it goes. And that's fine too, but I would just encourage you to search around, especially local, because that's a great way to help out the local small farmers around you while still expanding your options for what you can get. Also going to be a lot cheaper than if you were to just go on Etsy and find some, or even go onto a flower website, because you can order flowers online, but then you're gonna have to pay for shipping, and that can get really expensive really fast. So I would suggest either growing your own or looking at a local flower farm and looking for types of flowers that are kind of already dried or a little bit crispy that look like they will be good candidates for drying. And I would definitely start with the ones I mentioned, because I know for sure those are going to dry well for you, and they're so pretty. They're pretty much all you need, you know? They just have a great variety in texture and shape and form and things like that. Alright, so let's talk about this freebie. I recently mentioned in my previous video that I had reopened my Etsy shop. I've slowly been adding some really fun coloring pages that I've been working on, and this is one of them. This is all the flowers we just talked about, so you can hang this up on your wall or use it as some kind of art piece if you want. So I hope you guys enjoy that, and I hope these tips were helpful to you, and I will see you soon for our next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.